Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Luke, and this is my top 10 movie list of the year 2014. I did this last year, 2013, and I did it the year before that, in 2012, so I thought, you know what? I'm really excited to do it for the year 2014 to tell you guys what I think the best movies of last year now were. So, before we get into the top 10 list, I'm going to tell you guys two honorable mentions here that were kind of fighting for the top, or the number 10 spot, but a different movie actually ended up getting the number 10 spot. The first one I'm going to mention is The Grand Budapest Hotel. This is obviously the Wes Anderson movie that came out in, I think, March of last year. Really entertaining movie, has a giant cast, and it was really entertaining and really funny, but it just didn't really make the cut. And the other movie that was fighting for the number 10 spot is a movie called The Guest, directed by Adam Weingart. This is like an 80s style horror action movie, and it's really awesome, and it has a bunch of synth music, and it's really violent, and it kind of shows us this newcomer, Dan Stevens, and what he can do as an actor, and I think he's a really good actor, and I'm excited to see him in more movies in the future, because he played a really creepy guy in this movie, and I thought he was awesome as the whole movie was. So, my number 10 movie of the year 2014, let me just, tell you guys this. I feel really weird putting this as my number 10 movie. I personally really liked this movie. A lot of people were kind of meh about it, but I don't know what it was. This movie just really got to me. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like this is going to be a really controversial number 10 spot, but I'm just going to say it. A Walk Among the Tombstones, the movie with Liam Neeson that came out last September. I thought this movie was a great crime drama. It was gritty, it was violent, it was dark, and it just, the biggest thing were these two really creepy guys in this movie. The two sadistic serial killer weirdos were so freaking evil, and I thought they were so good. And Liam Neeson in this movie was also incredible. It wasn't like an action movie for him. This wasn't a drama or a thriller. It wasn't like Taken or any of those movies. This was an actual movie where Liam Neeson was acting and he was playing a detective. And I love detective stories, and I thought A Walk Among the Tombstones was just really cool, really well directed with a lot of really cool scenes, and it was just a really well-made film. I really enjoyed A Walk Among the Tombstones, and I understand that there are problems with this movie. It's not the perfect movie, but I personally really just enjoyed it, and I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray next week, actually, because I think I'm going to go buy it right away, because I really enjoyed this movie. It's kind of weird, but I loved it. I really did. So, A Walk Among the Tombstones at number 10. Number 9, we have a movie that's been topping the lists of a lot of YouTube reviewers, and that is Birdman. Birdman stars Michael Keaton and Edward Norton, and the director's name I'm not going to try to pronounce because I don't really know what it is. But this movie's incredible. It all looks like it's filmed in just one shot. It was edited so incredibly well. It's really entertaining. The soundtrack is awesome. It's just a bunch of drums kind of going crazy. We get incredible performances from everyone. Emma Stone, Edward Norton, Naomi Watts, Andrea Riseborough, and of course Michael Keaton. There definitely will be a ton of Oscar nominations for Birdman, and I personally just really enjoyed this movie because it was just non-stop. It was always moving, and that's what I liked about Birdman so much. Number 8, we have Whiplash. Whiplash was an incredible film directed by a man by the name of, I believe, Damien Chazelle. I don't know his name exactly, but it stars Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, and I'm telling you guys right now, if J.K. Simmons doesn't win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for this film, I'm going to be a little annoyed, because J.K. Simmons in this movie, we all know him from Spider-Man. He played J. Jonah Jameson, he was incredible in this movie. He was so angry, there was so much fire packed into his role, and he was so funny. Even though he was completely just downing these people and harassing them, he was hilarious. This movie shows a lot of just incredible stuff, and it's one of the best movies of the entire year. Miles Teller also on the drums in this movie. He was actually the one playing the drums. Incredible drummer and an incredible performance by him as well. I hope this movie gets some attention at the Oscars because I think it really deserves some, because it's one of the best movies of the entire year. It wouldn't be on this list otherwise. Number 7, we have a movie that it was, thinking about this movie, I hate all the hype surrounding it, and I hate how people think it's some, huge intellectual and special movie and think there's so many layers to it, because really, I personally don't think there is a lot of intellectual value to this movie, but that is Interstellar. Interstellar I really enjoyed for what it was. It was a great sci-fi exploration movie. It gave some incredible and powerful performances from Jessica Chastain and Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. Just a great cast for this movie. It was directed by, of course, Christopher Nolan, who directed it flawlessly. Lots of incredible special effects. It was jaw-dropping, and it had a twist at the end that was a little weird, but I thought it was alright. I didn't really mind the twist at the end. And I just thought that Interstellar was such a giant movie, and it really did a lot. I just don't think it's as you know, like I said, intellectual as a lot of people think it are. People think it's like some big movie that you have to analyze and learn a bunch about, but it really, you just have to follow the story, and that's pretty much all there is, because all the science in it, it's all just there. It's nothing that we really have to dig and delve into. It's just what it is. But Interstellar is a really entertaining movie, especially for being 2 hours and like 45 minutes or so. It's always entertaining, and like I said, just very powerful performances, and there were some parts that almost made me cry, because this movie has so much emotional depth. Number 6 is Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer stars Chris Evans and Jamie Bell and Tilda Swinton, and a lot of people are actually in this movie, and it's directed from by a Korean director, and this movie is awesome. It's basically about a global warming device that went completely wrong and froze over the entire Earth, and the only living survivors on planet Earth are on this train that goes around the globe in a giant circle, and it's a movie about, it's class warfare. We have the back class not really being treated well. They're being fed these disgusting protein bars, and they have a horrible living condition, and they decide to revolt and fight to the front of the train. And this movie is just an incredible sci-fi action movie that's smart. It has a lot of really cool characters, and it's just a really goddamn entertaining movie for being 2 hours long. And Chris Evans' character has a ton of emotional depth, as we find out, and a lot of things are revealed in this film about the characters, and I think it's just a really well-made movie with a lot of cool style, and Snowpiercer was one of my favorite movies of the year. Number 5, it's a movie that I saw towards the beginning of the year. I actually saw it on my birthday, and I was so excited for this movie, and that is Enemy. Enemy is directed by Denis Villeneuve. I hope I said his name correctly, and it stars the one and only Jake Gyllenhaal, and this movie is the most mind-boggling film I've seen in my entire life. This is a movie that it doesn't hold your hand as you walk through it. It doesn't explain everything to you like, let's say, Interstellar. This movie, you have to think about it on your own and sort of create your own ending and kind of create what you think really happened. You have to think about it for yourself, and you have to just figure this movie out. You really have to decipher this one. Jake Gyllenhaal gives one of the best performances he's ever given. He played basically 2 characters in this movie, and it's just such a weird movie, but it has a great soundtrack. The cinematography is breathtaking, and it's just a really nice little movie that makes you really think and use your brain, and that's what I really, really loved about Enemy. Number 4, another Jake Gyllenhaal flick, Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler was so cool. This movie was also just packed with style to the top. Jake Gyllenhaal gives an Oscar-worthy performance. I really have my fingers crossed for him winning the Oscar for Best Actor, because Jake Gyllenhaal is one of my favorite actors. He has just been impressing the hell out of me lately. Obviously, way back when he was in Donnie Darko, he had End of Watch, he had Enemy, Nightcrawler, he's going to be in Southpaw. If I'm forgetting any of his roles, I'm sorry. But Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the best actors working today, and Nightcrawler definitely proves that. He got so into his role in this movie. He was this freelance journalist who was kind of setting things up and manipulating crime scenes kind of for his own, not his satisfaction, but for his own good, so he could get a lot of money by selling footage of these crime scenes to news stations. And I thought this movie was so well made. It had a great finale, and Nightcrawler was just an awesome, awesome movie. Now, my number 3 pick is a really controversial one within my friend group. It's a sequel to a movie that came out in 2012, and all my friends say that the first one's better, and I love the first one, don't get me wrong, but I just think that The Raid 2 is superior. I love The Raid 2. I just watched it again the other night with some friends, and all of them said the first one is better. But I just think that The Raid 2 has so much more depth within the characters. It is beautifully shot. There are some scenes in this movie that make my mouth water and tears roll down my eyes. The Raid 2 is a beautiful movie. It's a lot longer and a lot more expansive than the first film, The Raid Redemption. It kind of goes into this gang underworld, and I just feel like it's a really engaging movie. The action, I don't even have to mention the action. It's just amazing, the choreography that goes into these movies and how well they're able to film these action scenes. All of it looks super convincing, really realistic, it's ultra violent, and The Raid 2 is just awesome, and the finale at the end is just incredible. The scene where Rama has to fight that guy with the two blades and hooks in the kitchen, that scene just has so much energy packed into it and so much drama, and I love it. And this movie, it just takes The Raid Redemption, which I love. I do really, really like The Raid Redemption. It almost made my top 10 list in 2012, but I just think that The Raid 2 just sets that movie up to 11, and it just is packed with a bunch of really wacky and interesting characters for our main protagonist, Rama, to fight throughout the movie, and I just think that The Raid 2 is an incredible action film and definitely the best action film of the entire year. Number 2 is a movie that kind of technically came out in 2013. It got nominated for Best Animated Feature, but it didn't win, and it most definitely should have, but I saw it in 2014, and 2014 is when it got its limited North American release, and that is The Wind Rises, Hayao Miyazaki's supposedly last film. This movie is so touching, it's sad, it's a really sad movie. It's about a man who's living in Japan, who is Japanese, during the era of World War II, and all he wants to do is just have his brain just spill out onto a page and create airplanes. He wants to make airplanes, but unfortunately the resources that Japan has in this decade, in this time period, just doesn't go well with that, and he doesn't really have the right materials to do what he wants to do. And of course everyone wants him to make fighter planes and Japanese Zeros to fight in World War II, and this character is just really troubled with that, and it's beautifully animated. That goes without saying. Hayao Miyazaki is the best animation director, I think, of all time, and this movie is just so beautiful and so touching, and it has a lot of really emotional depth, and I love The Wind Rises. I watched it when I bought it on Blu-ray almost immediately, and it's just such a lovely film. I definitely recommend The Wind Rises because it's my number 2 movie of the entire year. So, we are here to my number 1 movie of the year 2014. I'm sure if you guys watch my channel, a lot of you could have guessed it, and it's Gone Girl. Gone Girl is the film directed by David Fincher starring Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike, and this movie is so strange, but it's so perfect. This movie is literally perfect. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Ben Affleck is hilarious in this movie. I know it's funny that I'm saying hilarious because this is like kind of a dark drama, but honestly this movie's a dark comedy. Gone Girl is a dark comedy. There were so many times during this movie where I had this sick, demented, and twisted smile kind of forming on my face. Rosamund Pike has never been better. I really hope she wins Best Actress for her role in Gone Girl because she was so good in this movie. David Fincher directed it flawlessly. Again, the cinematography is just eye-popping, and Gone Girl is such an incredible movie with so many twists and turns. It's so engrossing. I mean, it's a 2.5-hour long movie, but I was never bored. The pace of this movie just keeps going. It's like a runaway train. It doesn't stop, and once it's over, you're just left wanting more. You're just like, I really want to watch more of this movie because it's just so damn entertaining. So my number 1 movie of the entire year is Gone Girl. It's an incredible film, and you all should most definitely watch it. So that's my top 10 list of the year 2014. If you guys liked this video, please subscribe and like this video, and I'm really curious to see what your guys' picks for your top 10 movies of the year are. And if you don't have a top 10, then maybe just like a top 5 or your favorite movie. I just really want to see what you guys were into this year because I like talking about movies, and I'm going to be posting my top 10 worst movies of the year show or list, whatever you want to call it, right after this one. So if you want to see some really bad movies, dubious movies that you should not ever watch, then check that video out. So you guys, this is Luke signing off. Please subscribe, and I will talk to you later.